Welcome to the Ignite Us OLL podcast, where faith comes alive, stories inspire, and the Holy Spirit sets hearts ablaze. We're coming to you from Our Lady of the Lake Catholic Church in Mound, Minnesota, where everything we do is driven by our mission to light the fire of God, one heart at a time. Whether you're at home, on the road, or in between moments of quiet and chaos, we're so glad you're here. Get ready to be inspired, challenged, and set aflame with truth and love. This is Ignite Us, and the fire is just getting started, one heart at a time. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Unfortunately, I do not have Sarah with me. I am Aurora Fensley, your host. And in the podcast studio, in the bowels of the OLL office basement, is Mary Davis. So welcome.
Hello, thank you.
Yeah. So we are going to be talking about Divine Mercy this episode, and I'm so excited that we get to have you because you are so knowledgeable and just so passionate about this topic. And we, so many people in the community always just come to you because, you're just on fire for all of this. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Okay. So let's just get into it. So there might be some people listening who are kind of like me when I first came into the Catholic faith, and I'm just like, what is this divine mercy of which you speak? Like, I've seen the famous paintings, and I think I've been given holy cards of it in the past, but I was just kind of confused. It's like, why is this a big deal? Like, I get like Christmas and Easter, and there are like pictures of the Virgin Mary, and there are things of that sort, but it's like there's always this image of Jesus, standing there, in his little toga robe, whatever he's wearing, with not a toga, he's not a Roman, but he, this red and this kind of like whitish blue coming out of him. So kind of going back to like what it is, can you maybe explain that?
I can try. What's interesting about the devotion is it is very, there's many layers to it,
Mhm.
and it can be very complicated. The image itself, there's a whole study on it. I don't know if you've ever seen where they can overlap it with the shroud and
Okay.
even the image of the Holy Face, and it lines up.
Okay, so is the Holy Face and the shroud the same thing, just for context, or no?
No.
Okay, they're different.
And I'm not even sure how many images there are, but the Holy Face is related to the veil of Veronica.
Okay.
And then, of course, the shroud is from the cloth that he was wearing in the tomb.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like, where do you begin? And in a nutshell, Jesus was calling Helena, I can't even think of her full name, to the convent, to the, I don't even know the name of the convent, but she's now called Saint Faustina, so she obviously listened. And what had happened is she was trying to avoid him, and she was out at a dance.
Mm-hmm.
And he appeared to her in his wounds.
Okay.
And said to her, how long, it's kind of like, how long you gonna put me off?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So just for context for folks, like none of us are like historians, so we don't have like specific dates, but wasn't this in like the 1930s?
Correct.
That this all was happening? So
Yes.
just imagine being, just a young woman doing your life. She was at a dance, out to have fun
Mm-hmm.
and, living her life. And then she's kind of, avoiding Jesus like so many times in our lives. We just kind of put him off. It's like, okay, I'll go to confession like next week. I'll go, I'll, pick up an adoration hour next month when I figure out my schedule or something like that. We just keep putting him off.
Right.
But to have our Lord roll up to you on the dance floor like that.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I love your connection with the confession, because if you think about it, we think when we are going to confession, it's our idea, but it's actually our response. It's his invitation.
Yeah.
And right. So she listened, and in all honesty, okay, so when I first learned about Saint Faustina was probably 2014, and I started reading the diary, and it took me a long time to get over the fact that the bold writing in the diary was Jesus speaking to her, because I was like, Jesus speaks to us, and it's written in a book? Like, that's so beneath him, like, how do you get anyone to believe this? And in reading the diary, what had happened is it melted my heart. And as I was reading it, I started recognizing this is the real thing. And it actually helped me open my heart to saints in general.
Okay.
Because prior to that, there are these superheroes far, far away.
Yeah.
They do these things. They never do anything wrong. They are nowhere near what we are. And through reading her book, I recognize that Jesus is not just speaking to her, she's speaking to us. Get my pronouns right. He was speaking to us. And at one point, he called her wretched in the diary.
Wait, do you remember like where? I still have to like read the majority of these diaries. Like, which one was it?
I will have to find it. It's probably like midway through.
Okay, midway through, but he calls her wretched?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
He's basically saying you are wretched. And what he means by that is you are nothing without me, which is true, right? But what I wanted to do, women's lib, she's a saint. How can you talk to her that way?
Yeah.
How can you call her wretched? And it was mind-blowing to me. And what's interesting is that was kind of a turning point for me to realize what he was saying is, if he stopped loving us, we would disappear.
Yeah.
We aren't who we think we are. And it's through him that we become what he's calling us to be, basically. So listening to Saint Faustina's diary, listening to her voice in the diary, she talks very much like very down to earth, and I'm doing a lot of I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out what I want to say here. It's very relatable. And I just remember reading this. Now let's back up. I don't read.
Okay.
I can't sit still long enough to read.
And I have the book in front of me, and just for context, if people want to read this, so it's the diary of Saint Maria Faustina Kowalska, and it's also, what is it, like the subheadline is Divine Mercy in My Soul.
Yes.
And it's written by Saint Faustina, and my copy of the book is this brick that has been sitting on my bookshelf. Like, I have this bookshelf with like all of the Catholic books that, I've either like bought in the past or, the couple that I have gotten through and read. Like, I'm still halfway through Story of the Soul from Saint Therese of Lisieux.
Yeah.
Like, this writing is so profound and it's dense. But I always, when I pick up this book and I think about reading it, it's like, it is a red brick of a book. Like, I could kill so many cockroaches with this book, but I won't, because I love my Polish sister so much. that I would never do that to her book.
That's so funny. But so when I read this, I think I read 1 or 2 pages at night.
Okay.
It
1 or
took me
2
a long
pages.
time to get through it because it was so, it's just, it's like you need to absorb it.
Hmm.
So it's not like you're reading a novel. Yes, it's a diary, but it's almost like the words are as strong as what if you're reading the Bible. It's just kind of,
Yeah.
they come alive.
Hmm.
And so it was transforming me as I was reading it.
Yeah.
Now I'm
So,
calling it a Bible.
well, I mean, that poses the question. And again, I'm not a, school theologian, so I can't necessarily speak to this, with authority. But, what can you say to people who are more like, yes, the Bible, this is what Jesus said, this is doctrine. But, people who are a little bit nervous about, these books making these claims. Like, yes, the church has recognized
Yes,
these voices
right.
and these writers, and there has been investigations into them. But what can you say to people who are maybe a little nervous or just not as used to reading other books where, saints are giving messages from either like the Virgin Mary or from, from Christ?
Right.
What can you speak to that?
Uh, okay, so since this was one of the first books I opened up and read, subsequently, it's like you have a voice in your head. You get to know Jesus' voice to her and
Hmm.
how he speaks to her. And I had realized he's speaking to us
Hmm.
and that, um, like she's a representative of
Hmm.
us, right?
Okay.
And so if you pick up another saint book, there's another person that I have found. Her name is Sister Josefa Menendez. That's
Hmm.
what it is. And he speaks the same way. So there's a tone to his voice that you hear throughout. So if you were to pick up a book from maybe Margaret Mary,
Hmm.
Saint Margaret Mary, I have not delved into her very much.
Hmm.
But in what I've kind of dabbled in, it's the same tone. It's the
Okay.
same way he speaks. And it's very
Interesting.
gentle. It's very um, clear.
Hmm.
And it is full of mercy. It's like we're a little child,
Hmm.
which we are,
Yeah, but
you know.
like you said, he was, very clear and very bold in what he says. And I love how you bring up the quality of talking to a child, because when we are with, your adult friends, you can have nuance and things like that. But it's like with, our little children, we are very basic. We don't have hyperbole. We don't do like too much like alliteration or anything. It's just very, this is the message. This is, what I'm asking you to do. Don't go on the road. Don't, I'm saying all these like don't sentences, but it's like, please, take care of your stuffed animals. Make sure that all of your clothes are tidy. Please, be kind to your brother and sister. That whole message of,
Mhm.
how we act and how we live. And the role of parents is to, bring us into fulfillment of ourselves into adulthood. So I think that's kind of what our Heavenly Father, what Christ is trying to convey across all of these messages to humanity, is that little child, you are coming forth into your own, your own humanness.
Mhm.
And so that we can be the best humans that we can be. And basically our statement that we're going to make is that, through the divine mercy, it's like this is one of the many things that we can use to bring forth our best selves. Like, you
Right.
don't have to be afraid of these new things, like if you're unfamiliar with it, or because I have this thing where, because we're going to talk about the novena, and actually I haven't started it yet. You start the novena to the Divine Mercy on Good Friday,
Mhm.
and we'll talk about the chaplet later and what that novena means. But basically I'm really bad at this where I like think about starting a novena, but then it's like, oh, I forget about it for the day that I'm supposed to start it. And I'm, oh my gosh, I'm not perfect. But I then saw a influencer on Instagram. I follow quite a few Catholic voices, and this guy was just like, yeah, I'm like 3 days behind on my Divine Mercy novena. I'm like, oh, I am the same. So it's completely okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to try.
Yeah.
Because we are little children and we will make little blunders and mistakes, and it's fine.
Right.
Jesus loves us when we take our stumbling baby steps toward him. And honestly, like, practicing the Divine Mercy and coming forth to it, it could be one of those little baby steps for you in your spiritual journey.
For sure. And true disclosure, I don't know if I can maybe count on one hand how many novenas I've actually completed properly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think of them as, yes, they're kind of like spiritual muscles, but they also open up our hearts. So what's interesting about this novena is he wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, he's basically saying to her, tell them this.
Yeah.
And it's like, again, it's like, how does she have this connection with Jesus where she can hear his voice? One of my favorite stories of hers is when she was going to her confessor, and what they typically do when someone comes and claims that they're hearing from someone, Jesus, Mary, whoever, is they test it.
Yeah.
And what he told her is, quit talking to him. So she goes back to her cell, and Jesus appears, and she says, I can't talk to you.
Leaving Jesus on red. I can't. I cannot.
And he was pleased by that because obedience.
Uh-huh.
So, and there's many times where he wants to tell her something, but he wants her to hear it through the priest.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a line of authority.
Yeah.
That he wants to be followed.
Mm-hmm.
And, so in reading this diary, not only did it open me up to Jesus speaking to somebody, other saints that are just waiting to be our friends.
Yeah.
But that there's an authority in the church, and that he is it, right? But, it's like there's structure, and it just kind of, because there's always this doubt, I'm a revert, and this was during my reversion, and there's always this, am I following the right path? Is this church all crazy?
Yeah.
They do all these crazy things, but, what I kind of feel happens is this, or any devotion, as you get closer, it's opening your heart to hear what God is saying to you at that moment. And he'll use this as a tool, because we just like to just close off our hearts and have, our own ideas about things.
Yeah.
But did you ask me a question and I didn't answer it?
No, it's okay. And mainly, like, part of this conversation is just kind of settling into, because what I'm finding more and more so as I kind of dive into this Divine Mercy, because I actually had the opportunity, because I don't have the experience of reversion, because I never started my life in the Catholic Church. Like, I was baptized in a Catholic church, but then my parents completely dropped the ball. And I did not grow up in a Catholic setting. Like, I went to masses every couple months with aunties and, grandparents and that kind of thing. So just very on the fringes of my life was the Catholic faith. But I started, being drawn back in my young adulthood during, when I was around 18, 19, and I was invited to go to Poland for World Youth Day in 2016. And I had the opportunity, and my family's Polish, like culturally, and, just the whole Chicago spread
Mm-hmm.
of it. And I had the opportunity to go to the Shrine of the Divine Mercy outside of Krakow, Poland. And I was not Catholic, and I let Christ speak to me.
Oh, wow.
And not necessarily in the very direct way that he spoke to Faustina, but just in those quiet moments of witnessing other people
Mm-hmm.
and their relationship to him, and their relationship to Christ proved that I'm on the right track.
Mm-hmm.
That these people are having these beautiful, transformative parts of their, souls in their life. And, it was just a very quiet drawing closer to him. And it really was, Christ did use, in my case, it's like, you are very Polish. You are used to, this place in the world. I would go to like the grocery stores and the malls down there, and it's like, everyone looks like my uncle.
Oh.
Everyone looked like my uncle, and just my family. And culturally, we are very Polish. So I drew near to my heritage in that, and I have, this love for, Southern Poland and for, where my family comes from.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of let Christ, with his mercy, say, there is more. Come forward. And the shrine, I'll tell you this, anyone who has the opportunity to go on pilgrimage anywhere, go and open yourself up, because I walked into, because there's a sanctuary in there for space for masses, and lots of pilgrims to come and visit. And I walk in, and the architecture of this shrine is just, I haven't looked at any pictures in years of this place, but in the very back, they have, it's not the image, the original painting, like that's in the convent still.
Yeah.
But they have, a duplicate made of the painting, and that's, framed up on the wall, up by the altar. And, there's like a processional line that you can, follow, but I just walk in back doors, center aisle with these pews, and the architecture, it's kind of curved, where it's the same concept of Saint Peter's, where it's like, it's the arms of the church coming around you.
Mm-hmm.
And I really felt, this, the beauty of the architecture and where the painting was placed really spoke to me. And I still remember the feeling that I had, that it's like, this is peace. And this is, not necessarily, like, I want to say that this is correct.
Yeah.
So that's an experience that I had, in the place where, Jesus was speaking to her. Like, this was down the road.
That's crazy. He was wooing you.
I know. It's like that very soft, quiet, because everyone wants like the crazy, big, dramatic romances that you see in the movies and everything like that. And that's just dumb. I do not need that drama.
He knows your heart.
Yeah, it's just very quietly speaking to you in those moments. And with the Divine Mercy, it is a very gentle wooing of the heart to draw you closer.
Right.
In that mercy.
It's fascinating, because you're describing it like you would have known the whole devotion already.
Mm-hmm.
But you were immersed in the devotion. You were immersed in the message of Divine Mercy.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was just kind of dunked in, marinated a little bit. Kind of like when you're preparing a turkey, and you gotta put it in the salt brine just a little bit.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Well, the image, I don't know if you've ever followed any of that, but that's a whole other thing you could follow, is the image, because there's multiple images out there, but that's the original.
Yeah.
And there's stories about how that was almost lost multiple times.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you have a quick story about how it was lost?
It's terrible. Because I don't know history well. There's a whole movie on it that EWTN does.
Okay.
And there's some kind of occupation at some point where they came in and were taking over.
Was it during like the communist occupation of
believe,
Poland?
yeah.
Okay.
I always wanted to go back and know that full history.
Hey, let's maybe plan something.
Okay, let's do it. And the original painting was left in this church so high up that no one could touch it or care about it.
Yeah.
And from what I remember, and this is such a twisted story because there's so many things that happen. At one point, these nuns noticed the painting was still there.
Yeah.
After a whole, like, I don't know how long, but a long time. And somehow convinced the guards to barter for two bottles of wine or something like that. And then they were able to get it down and sneak it out. But that in itself is an amazing, it's like Raiders of the Lost Ark story that would be fun to talk about someday. But, you know, what happens if I don't read this stuff and then talk to you about it right away, it's gone. So we're tapping into old memories.
Yeah.
But there's so many books out on it. And from what I understand also is there was a time when the image, when it was lost, they couldn't hand out the little images anymore. So they created their own. So there's like an Italian version.
Okay.
And that's why you have so many different versions of it. But the original is, I don't know how do you say it. Is it Vilmus?
So I have the page open to it, and the caption of it is, so the first image of the Divine Mercy painted in Vilnius, I haven't practiced this yet, Vilnius by oh, my Polish is awful. Like I claim to be culturally Polish, but my Kazimierz-Mirowarski under Saint Faustina's direction from January to June in 1934 is when the first painting was made. And I really like that they make a point to say it's like it was kind of like when people are investigating like facial reconstruction for like criminals and stuff, and how you are able to reconstruct the face, and a good artist is able to just take all those facial feature details and knows the human, you know, anatomy so well, is that they're like portraiture, you're able to reconstruct what that face is. And as you mentioned earlier in the episode, that throughout all of these different miracles, that this painting also, this original painting that Faustina directed, it has the same features as like the Shroud of Turin. So
crazy.
God is so good. What else can we say?
I believe the artist was an atheist.
Oh, I did not know that.
I think he was so detached from this whole thing. And Jesus had insisted that she paint this picture, and she couldn't, of course, because she's not an artist. And I think she had this artist redo it a million times, and finally they just said it's good enough.
Oh, he must have loved her. She's poor. Oh, I hope that Jesus also wooed his heart in this process. God bless.
It's fascinating, and another interesting thing is this diary. I believe at least part of it was burnt.
Okay.
The devil convinced her to burn her diary. So she had to rewrite it all.
Girl, get your WhatsApp chat with Jesus back up.
But I mean, it's so, there's so many layers, and so Jesus' whole point was he wanted to establish this feast.
Okay.
And the feast is was from the early church.
Okay.
And it got lost. So he wanted it to be returned. And so he was like, I want you to tell them about my mercy. I want this feast. I want you to establish this feast. And from what I understand, when she would attempt to do these things, you know, wouldn't always be easy. And then when it came time for John Paul II, uh,
Another Polish
another,
icon.
yes. And if you could see, there's videos out there that explain all the little details that I am missing in this, that are just, each one of them makes your brain explode.
Yeah, there's just so many touch points
Right.
and parts of the story throughout, this wide history. And that's why, like, because getting to know the Divine Mercy, and I manage the parish website, I'm like, there's so much information here.
Yeah.
So for people who are just getting into this and want to learn more, OurLadyOfTheLake.com /divine-mercy. I think I'll be leaving the link to that specific page in the description and any posts that I make about this. But yeah, we will have resources for you. But yeah, just going on about these that you mentioned a video in JP2.
Yes. Well, apparently what he did is, when he became Pope, there was a pile of tasks that he needed to work on.
Okay.
And he took the pile and he put it upside down.
Love
And the
that.
first thing on the bottom was Saint Faustina.
No kidding.
Serious. And what had happened is, this was banned for a while because of bad translation.
Okay.
And what
her diary was banned.
The whole thing.
Okay.
Yep. And he read it, and then had people correct it.
Okay.
Do research, figured this out, and he even says the biggest accomplishment of his papacy was establishing the feast.
The Feast of Divine Mercy Sunday. And that is the octave of Easter.
Correct.
So it falls on the first Sunday after Easter.
Yes.
Okay.
And when I'm talking to you, I'm thinking of all the things I'm not sharing because I'm not equipped for this. But what I really would suggest, we'll get a clip, an audio clip for you of Father Mike Schmitz talking about the octave of Easter with the Divine Mercy. I think this is like from 2023. But subsequently, he does homilies on this every year that have always been very powerful. But the one on the octave of Easter is fantastic. And I was hoping to have some of the notes ready for today, but I failed.
That's okay. Again, earlier in the episode, admitting that I fail my novenas. It's okay if our notes are completely
It's just
there.
Too much going on.
Look, and this is just, even in our conversation, like, I'm realizing that we can go deeper.
Yes.
And this is just so beautiful. So I think this is a great capstone to just kind of touch on all these little points of where people can start investigating.
Right.
Like, if you're a history buff, you can read into all the instances and the stories that are behind this. Like, I want to know about those, what was it, the sisters who traded the painting for the 2 bottles of wine? Yeah. Good deal.
Yeah.
Hope that was a decent vintage.
Right.
But, or just even about Faustina herself, or, discovering the saints, because again, Saint John Paul II, he's another Catholic saint that you can, investigate and draw nearer to and learn about his life and how he, took on communism and how he became a priest in secret. I've also been to his apartment too in Vadovice. Super chill. His mom had a super chill kitchen, by the way. I would love to just sit and talk and have a cup of coffee for a couple hours there. Very Polish.
Oh, wonderful.
If I ever have to write a master's dissertation, I'll be getting a short-term rented apartment in Wadowice, Poland, and I will be just living my little small town Polish life in John Paul II's hometown. That is my dream.
That's an awesome dream.
Yeah. I've always wanted to go back to Poland. Great food. I think the first time I laid physical eyes on Pope Francis, I was eating butter slathered pierogi in the street from a styrofoam cup.
That's perfect.
Look, it was raining. He was on a train coming through Krakow, and it's like, there he is.
Yeah.
But yeah, just these little stories about the Divine Mercy. We'll bring it back. So if you are just starting off on your journey to the Divine Mercy, we mentioned the diary, we mentioned the novena, but there is the chaplet that I also want to cover.
Yes.
So again, you said Jesus has instituted this, bringing back this feast day. He's brought back, this, but the chaplet that he's talked about, how does, obviously this came through in the diaries, but practically for people, how can they find it? And I brought some of the OLL materials that we have up in the sanctuary now in the many places where we have our resources. It's this red kind of like trifold. And it's, got a black and white picture of Faustina and an image of the Divine Mercy of Jesus, and in black and white, but it's like red. You will always see people carrying around these little paper booklets. Like I've had so many of these just shoved into like my travel bags or whatever, because I just, love it. It's like, what if I need it?
Right.
So it has the intentions of all the days to the novena in there, and then it also has directions on how to recite the chaplet of mercy. And you also use the tool of the rosary, another great story of saints and heroism, and just listening to our Lord and Our Lady. But so basically you use the rosary, and just for people who are listening to this, and it's I'll just read off the back. So it's how to pray the Divine Mercy Chaplet. So step 1, make the sign of the cross. Number 2, say the optional opening prayer, and then you say an Our Father, and then you say the Hail Mary. What is it, 3 times on those 3 beats, or is it?
People do it a little different. Sometimes they'll say one of those prayers. I have to see it. Eternal Father, I offer you 3 times.
Okay. And then the 5th step is, so on this red little booklet, so for each of the 3 beads on the rosary, where you would traditionally say like the 3 Hail Marys, it's you say an Our Father, then it's a Hail Mary, and then an Apostles' Creed, and then you say the Eternal Father prayer. And all of these prayers are, listed in this booklet, by the way. And then here's the thing that you use the main beads for. So for the 10 decade beads, you say, for the sake of his sorrowful passion, have mercy on us and on the whole world. Correct, right? I got it off the top of my head.
Yep.
Yes, I got it. So for 10 times, you say that. And then on the Our Father beads, so on the Our Father beads, saying the Eternal Father. And then at the conclusion of the 5 decades on the medallion, say Holy God, and concluding doxology 3 times. And on pilgrimage with my friends, we have timed this, because this is what we do on pilgrimage, is we always keep prayer at the center of things. Like when we're standing in line, it's like, oh, we have 15 minutes until our train comes. We are on a train platform doing a speed run of the Divine Mercy.
That's awesome.
And we have timed it. You can say this prayer, again, speed run it in 7 minutes.
Wow.
So as much as people say, oh, I don't have time for this, oh, I don't have time for that, nah, fam.
Right.
You can whip this thing out when you need it.
Absolutely.
Throughout the day.
I've mentioned Veronica's Veil, and that's part of the Holy Face devotion. And when I was learning the chaplet of that, I was having the hardest time tripping over all the words and couldn't remember. But if I'm having a really good day, a real good prayer day,
yeah,
I pray the Rosary, the Divine Mercy Chaplet, and then the Holy Face. And how I would say it is the rosary is, of course, the gospel.
Yeah.
It kind of sets the tone. It kind of opens you up for what God is saying to you. Then I pray the Divine Mercy Chaplet, and that is receiving the mercy, asking for the mercy and receiving the mercy. And then I'll pray the Holy Face, which is about reparation, making reparation.
Mm-hmm.
And on those days that I accomplish all three of those, especially in the morning, my day is on fire.
Okay.
Had I done that today, I probably would be better on this podcast.
You know what? We're just all here to struggle together. Like that is the joys of, being a Christian and coming to these touch points and conversations is like we're all just going through it.
Right. But it's fascinating because it's kind of like someone will tell you something very complicated, and then you try to repeat it to someone and you can only get like a third of it out, and there's more.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel with this all the time. And I used to get really kind of upset about it because I'd want someone to take a hold of it and explain it to me.
And we want to know everything.
Right. Want to know. But it's a journey in it.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to mention is when he established this feast, he said that this day would be a day where he wouldn't, what's the word? He would give mercy to anyone. So it's like he wouldn't stop. He wouldn't prevent. I can't think of the word for some reason. Block? They'll come to me. So it's kind of like he wants it to be utilized. It's a special day of grace. And what confused me about that is, what do you need to do to receive that grace? And there's two levels.
Okay.
There's what Jesus is giving us, and then there's what the church is giving us.
Okay.
And when you try to interchange them, that's why it's confusing. But Jesus was very simple.
Okay.
Go to Mass, receive the Eucharist, and ask for His mercy. There's prayers you can ask, but you can just say, "I'm here. I please have mercy on me." I'm sure that confession is part of that within 8 days, but then it's getting into this technical stuff, which is hard. With the church adds like indulgences to this, and that's where it got completely overwhelming for me one day when I was trying to prepare when my first celebration here, which is back in 2018. I went in circles trying to figure it out, and I realized it's beyond me. But in time, I've come to understand that there's 2 layers.
Okay.
So what's beautiful about that is you can just trust the Lord.
Yeah.
And what does He have in the bottom of His picture? He insisted that you write that Saint Faustina wrote, "Jesus, I trust in you."
Yeah. And
from what I understand of that is, it's not Jesus, I trust you. It's I trust you, Jesus. It's Jesus, I trust in you, which is putting the emphasis on Him, not on us.
Yeah. I was in a really difficult and long, apologetics conversation with some connections. So I was over to dinner at a friend's house, and I had a moment of this really deep conversation with folks who weren't necessarily practicing Catholics, and they got to the point of, it's like, oh, who gets to go into heaven? And the only thing, because at this point I stopped, I ate this was on St. Patrick's Day. I stopped eating my roast beef and I was engaged in this conversation. And I'm just like, because you can never definitively say where you are. Yes, like you say, there are 2 layers. There is what, the very basic, like what Jesus explains to us, but then, there is what the church also adds on. And at that point in the conversation, it's like, we were not at the level for me to like explain like the deep like theology of in tradition of the church. All I could say was whenever I think about, folks who either weren't Catholic and they die, I just give them to God's mercy.
Perfect.
Christ still loves them, and he wants the best for them, and he knows who is going to be clutched to his breast. So that was the only thing that I could necessarily give them in that conversation at that point, is just thinking of his mercy and how he loves us so dearly. So that was something like, Jesus, I trust in you. And this is a prayer that, throughout my, journey through the Catholic Church over like the last 10 years, so many people have just reminded me, it's like, just come back to the basic prayer of, in those moments, even when you're not like in a prayer posture of like hands folded or like kneeling or, sitting in a quiet spot. It's like, you are at the bus stop. You are, writing an email and you're frustrated. This is when you say, either in your mind or just quietly under your breath, Jesus, I trust in you.
Absolutely. And you know what's interesting about that? I find that when it's the least likely that you would say it is when it's the most powerful. Like you're saying, like if you're in a struggle and you choose to say, I trust in you, it's like counterintuitive, but it's when I think it's the most powerful.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how he works, but it's again like a muscle where you're offering it up to him in a time where it doesn't make sense, or you're in your struggle or whatever. I always joke that there's like this Milton Bradley game of life out there that, or mix it with a little Chutes and Ladders. I don't know if you ever played that game.
Oh, yes.
Where you're driving down the highway and someone really bothers you.
Oh, yeah.
And then you snarl at them. You go down the ladder, you go down the chute because you've made really bad points, and now you have to work your way back. I don't think he works exactly like that.
No.
But I also think that our choices can kind of be thought of that way. Like it's harder.
That it's transactional.
Yes.
That, for this action that I take, there will be a equal reaction to it. Like that works for physics.
Yeah.
But not for Christ's mercy.
But if I'm driving down the highway and I'm thinking of Milton Bradley game of life, it might encourage me to do the right thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to go shooting down that that slide. I want to keep going towards the goal.
Yeah.
And it's like anything that will help me keep from getting caught in the nonsense of the world, that kind of thing. And what's also interesting about praying like the chaplet is the more you pray it, the more it's kind of in your heart, and it comes to you when you need it.
Yeah.
When you're in some situation. And just recently I was kind of worried about something, and all I did was keep saying, Jesus, I trust in you. It's really quick, but it opens up whatever might be blocking his help or coming to my aid. It opens it up. So I also wanted to mention that you can do a whole study on the image, what it means.
Yeah.
And that, I think you could take like a class on it. And he's stepping towards us and showing us his wounds in water.
Yeah.
Right? And it's to say, trust me.
Yeah. Well, and that's the same wound that Saint Thomas, who's like doubting the resurrection, that he's come back and that he's here. It's him. That's the same wound.
Yes.
That Saint Thomas stuck his finger in and dug around in there to prove it.
Yes.
To himself. And something else that, I'm just discovering is that I think he was one of the apostles. He went all the way to India like to
Wow.
to evangelize.
Yeah.
And like he just traveled the roads until there were no roads. And that the mercy of Christ would compel this man, would be deep seated enough in him to take on these unknown spaces. And I think for us in our daily lives, we wake up and we face the unknown. And that's what's really scary. And we are afraid to ask for help.
Right.
And in the Divine Mercy, like part of like the ABCs that I was like reading on the Divine Mercy like website is that, you know, you have to ask for help.
Right.
And you have to like ask for his mercy. And that's, I think, where subconsciously maybe a lot of people are hesitant to really press their heart to, is because it's so hard to admit that we can't do it on our own.
Right.
And it's kind of scary.
Well, it's even wonderful when we know we can do it on our own, when we ask for his help.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
like he wants to help us with everything. Even choosing like what clothes to wear. Everything. Things that we think are beneath him. But we kind of, it's almost like this, we don't want to bother him with the small stuff.
Yeah.
You know? It's an interesting conundrum that we put ourselves in, because if we ask him for help in the small stuff, we might be more likely to ask him the big stuff.
Yeah.
But we like to wait.
Yeah. Yeah. So I keep getting, throughout this conversation, I keep getting like this, I've made jokes throughout this episode of like, oh my gosh, it's like, you know, texting Jesus. It's like, you know, talking to him, like just in this vernacular of this digital age of, you know, having a conversation, because so many of our conversations are based in like a little text message or, you know, direct messaging or, you know, those quick little phone calls or voice notes or things like that. And maybe we should approach Jesus in our conversation, in our relationship building. How do we come to him in prayer with that same attitude of, I'm just going to send him a little voice note of what I'm, you know, thinking about today. What, like you said, like, what do you wear? What, like, in these little moments in life, let's just bring them to him.
Yeah.
And in this, you know, relationship, like, yes, we recognize that he is our Lord and Savior, that he is King of the universe. He is all those things, but he also wants to be close to us throughout our days, in which I find really beautiful, that the King of the universe, the one who, you know, died for us, he is going to be with us, you know, in those small little things as well, that he cares.
Right.
So maybe to kind of wrap up this episode, what is one of those little moments that you have, you know, offered to him, either like in your example of like, what do you wear? Like, you know, do I go here or do I go there? Has there ever been like a moment in your life, or a quick story of like when you've asked Jesus to either be close to you, or to help you with a smaller decision? Has that ever occurred?
A lot of times, of course, I can't think of any. Let me think. Just recent. Just can't think of it. Because I'm on the spot.
No, that's okay. And this part we can cut out as well to give you a minute to think.
I will tell you this story.
Okay.
So we were putting on the welcome retreat, and in that retreat we write our testimony.
Okay.
And when I realized that my testimony was not so great, that it wasn't hitting all the marks that were needed for the assignment, I scratched it. And the deadline was coming closer and closer. And I basically threw everything out and then tried to rewrite it. And then I brought everything back in and tried to piece it to fit. And it just wasn't working.
Mm-hmm.
And I was using my husband's computer.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know my story.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't know when I had my encounter with the Lord or anything. It's all been kind of awkward, where anytime I talked to him about faith, it was just not well received. And so I just didn't talk to him about stuff. And what I felt was Jesus was nudging at me to ask him for help.
Okay.
And at one point, he sets me down at his computer. He sets something up. He even brings me food. And he goes, "There's anything I can do to help?" And I'm like, "No, I'm good." And I'm working on this, and I'm getting nowhere.
Yeah.
And I finally realized I need to ask him. Jesus is asking me to ask him. And I don't want to.
You don't want
And he's in the living room watching TV, and I'm really having a hard time. I'm not getting anywhere. I'm spinning my wheels. I know that you're very direct in your suggestions, and I'm ready for it. I need some tough direction here. Mm-hmm. And I read it to him, and he on his own says to me, because I told him my story and the beginning of the story of the child, and then who I am now, and all the things I went through or whatever. And he says to me on his own, "The theme here, Mary, is trust." He says, "When you were younger, you didn't trust the Lord, and now you do trust the Lord." And he summarized me. He says, and that's the whole point, isn't it? That we need to trust in the Lord. Oh. And I literally was there with my jaw down to the ground, because we don't talk about these things. And he continued to basically preach to me the message of trusting in the Lord.
Okay.
And he doesn't know this, but I sneakily recorded him.
Well, it's out now.
And I actually haven't even listened to it, because my brain was exploding so much, and I had to get this task done. So I have to think about what just happened in about a month when I can unpack this. But a couple days later, when I was at the retreat and preparing for giving this testimony, I started going, "Mary, you are so dense. How many times have you been saying, 'Jesus, I trust in you'?" Like, this is the message of divine mercy. And he gave me the message of divine mercy while I was in such a hard time getting this assignment done. Mm-hmm. And I'm so grateful for it. And had I not trusted in the Lord and said, "Okay, I'll go ask my husband for him," I wouldn't have experienced anything.
Well, still, it's that it goes back. This, I'm making a connection now of how Faustina listened to her confessor.
Yeah. Yes.
You listened to your husband?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
and blessed for it. And it started a new chapter in our lives. I don't know what it is, but we're ready to talk now about God.
Wow.
I know.
Praise be to God.
Absolutely.
No kidding. Okay. This has been an amazing episode. Thank you so much, Mary, for coming in to just chat and kind of dive deep and give so much life and color to this devotion, to this novena, to this artwork, and to, you know, this message that Jesus came to us with, and that we have the opportunity to engage with and to really settle into, and it's not just about Divine Mercy Sunday. This is something that we can carry with us every single day of our, you know, spiritual walk with Jesus. And I'm just so grateful that we get to share this story. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Aurora Fenzel, Communications and Technology Systems Manager for Our Lady of the Lake Catholic Church. I'm the podcast host and editor. To support us, you can like, follow, share, and subscribe And also visit us at ourladyofthelake.com for our Mass times and ways to support our mission.